Welcome to the F1Stop show. Good evening. I'm your host, Sam Oney, and this is episode 22. With me is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Only just about recovered from from all the news that's been thrown out from Formula One in literally the past few days. I mean, we're recording this on Thursday, slightly later in the week than usual. And I suppose in a way, it's worked out quite well because we've got a couple more days of quite big news that's come out. But yeah, I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. You know, there's so much sport is going on during these Commonwealth Games. It's just so hard to keep up with what's going on, but that's the beauty of it. You've got such a variety of sports to choose from and watch, and yeah, it's really enjoyed it. As for Formula One, well, let's get into it, shall we? So the Hungarian Grand Prix was round 11, I believe,
13.
13. Well then, and Max Verstappen ruled in Budapest as he has most of the season. It was quite a dominant race from him, taking the lead on lap 16, I believe. And well, that's win number 28 for the Dutchman. He goes above Fernando Alonso and some other F1 greats that I can't remember off the top of my head.
He was level with Jackie Stewart last time, and he's just gone one ahead of quite literally one of the greatest drivers of all time.
Let me guess. Graham Hill.
I, I said Jackie Stewart.
Oh, sorry, my
Yeah,
bad,
yeah.
my bad. So Jackie Stewart. See, I got it right. But what do you make of Max's performance in Budapest,
I mean,
considering that he started 10th?
yeah, I was just going to say, Red Bull had a shocker of a qualifying session. Just trying to find where they actually qualified. Um, Verstappen P10, Perez P12. I mean, Hamilton was seventh as well. So I don't know what was in the air in Budapest last weekend, but yeah, for some reason, some of the drivers couldn't quite. I think Red Bull had some sort of issue, and Hamilton had some sort of issue as well. Not quite sure what. Um, yeah, I mean to win the race after coming from 10th, it's Verstappen's first win outside a top four start. It's possibly arguably his greatest win. I'm trying to think where other race wins that you could potentially class as Verstappen's best win. Abu Dhabi last year, perhaps. That's controversially, I suppose.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm struggling to think of too many others where he's had such a smooth drive. I suppose up until he lit up the rears and spun coming out the second to last corner. But even so, with that, which was quite late into or sort of in the middle of the race, he only lost one place to Charles Leclerc, which I think only dropped him back to about third or fourth, and then pretty much ate Leclerc up a lap or two afterwards. It was Red Bull have got so much pace at the moment. It's Verstappen's eighth win of the season, and there's been 13 races. Was it Leclerc with or Perez with one, and the two Ferraris with the others? Something like that. I can't remember. Um, yeah, he's just been so dominant all season, and we keep saying it. We pretty much week in week out when it comes to Verstappen. It was a dominant drive. Count how many times we've said that during the course of this season.
yeah,
Um, Pretty much every race besides possibly the first three or four. Um, he's just a level above anyone else on the grid at the moment in terms of driver and car. Um, he's 80 points clear now of Leclerc. No driver with a lead that big has ever been caught for the World Championship. And I think these last few weeks have just completely killed Ferrari and their sort of any sort of hope or they had of even battling for the World Championship. I mean, looking back to the start of the season when we had a Ferrari 1-2 and Verstappen retired and the the race after that in Saudi Arabia, Verstappen bounced back, got the win, and Ferrari struggled a little bit. We thought it was going to be down to Verstappen and Leclerc for the from those first sort of 3, 4 rounds, but now I think you can pretty much safely say that Verstappen's possibly got not quite a whole hand on that driver's trophy yet, but maybe a finger on it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I just wanted to cast your mind. Do you remember, I think, into the first three races, or even the first two, rather, when Verstappen had the DNF in Bahrain, and also not in I don't think he had it in
Australia, I think it was.
Australia. Yeah,
Mm.
and he then said like, "Oh, I'm not." I think he said something along the lines of maybe my title hopes are not there anymore. My chances are quite slim or something like that. I can't quite remember what he said. Something along those lines. But then if you fast forward up to 8, 9 races later, as you said, he's like miles ahead of Leclerc, and his drivers' championship bid is up and running again.
It's more than up and running. It's far out. He's miles ahead now. As you say, 80 points ahead of Leclerc, 85 points ahead of Perez, who we thought could potentially be in with a shout of, or maybe not a championship, but be in the battle nonetheless. But he's just so far ahead of everyone else now. And as just I listened to or watching back to the Channel 4 highlights, and that stat from Alex Jakes that no one with a lead this big has ever been caught for the world title. And I'm fairly certain I don't think we'll see Max being caught this year. I mean, 80 points is a hell of a lot. I mean, thinking back to when I think it was Leclerc had a 30-point lead, and I was thinking that could take some doing to reel in if Ferrari and Leclerc carry on the same form that they showed at the start of the season. But as I say, I think these last few weeks of whether it be strategy or mechanical failure or engine failure or driver error, like in France, they've just absolutely killed any momentum whatsoever that Ferrari had. And yeah, just killed their hopes of a drivers and constructors championship, because it's not just the drivers, the constructors as well. I think Mercedes are now pretty close to going second in the constructors. So, and at the start of the season, or after the first few rounds, you think, yeah, Mercedes finished third. There's no way they're getting into the top two. There's no way they're going to battle with Red Bull and Ferrari. But now, coming to the summer break, they're right in there. They could have potentially won this weekend out in Hungary if it wasn't um, for basically the pace of the Red Bulls. But I mean, Russell could have got his first win, or Hamilton could have got his first win of the season. Um, I mean, we said last week Hungary is a strong track for the Mercedes. One of Hamilton's pretty much is his most successful track. I think he's got 9 wins there, level with Silverstone, I believe. Um, yeah, obviously we're the celebrating now. The team's got 4 weeks, I think it is, sort of reevaluate and lots of things to recover, re-energize, all those words. Um, yeah, Ferrari need to wobble their heads together and yeah, try and put right what's gone wrong in the last few weeks.
Yeah, because if if Charles Leclerc wants any chance of touching that drivers' championship, he's gonna really have to get his act together. Not just him, but the whole team as well. His teammate Carlos Sainz, the pit crew, all the engineers, the mechanics. They're really gonna have to put their heads on together, because after summer break, it's Spa, and Spa is a very well respected track, and a lot of stuff has happened in Spa in the past. I don't know if we're gonna get a bit of rain, but well,
As long as
we'll
it's not another repeat of last year, one lap behind the safety car. Right, yeah, race winner. Let's get on the podium and go home because it's pissing it down.
who knows? Maybe Mick Schumacher might qualify and get himself on the top
that
on the
that I
front
would
row.
like to see. I would like to see that.
Um, well, Mercedes, George Russell. he got his first pole for the Silver Arrows. How did you feel when you saw that in qualifying?
A little bit unexpected, I think. I think he only got pole by, I think it was less than a tenth of a second that he actually got pole. For I think it was over Sainz who was second, I believe. Yeah, see when he came out of nowhere a bit from Russell, and as you say, his first pole, first of many, I'm sure. Um, yeah, if he said, I mean, just going back to sort of the start of the season, those first few rounds, if he said, yeah, a Mercedes is going to be on pole by summer break, you thought, they've managed to claw something back. I mean, they were challenging for sort of fourth, fifth, and sixth Mercedes at the start of the season. Now they're challenging for consistent podiums and even race wins. Um, and as I said, probably wasn't quite to be for Russell in Hungary this weekend, but they've improved by so much Mercedes since the start of the season, and it goes to show they're not eight-time constructors champions for no reason. Um, the way they've, as I say, the way they've managed to claw back, or just improve their car so much. I mean, it helps that Ferrari have gone quite far downhill in terms of strategy mistakes, reliability, etc. But yeah, their improvement is like chalk and cheese compared to where they were at the start of the season and now. Yeah, and I don't see any reason why after the summer break that they can't be challenging for podiums regularly and maybe even a race win here and there. Would love to see Russell get a race win this season. If he doesn't get one this season, I'm sure he will next year. Um, yeah, the way Mercedes have improved is just an incredible effort given how far off the pace they were at the start of the season.
The question still remains with Mercedes. The question is on everybody's lips. When and will the Silver Arrows get their first win of the season? Because we're now going into the summer break. Then we kick off with Belgium. We still have Asia to go. We still got Suzuka. Singapore's on the calendar. We've got what else? Turkey, I believe.
We've got Zandvoort,
Okay.
Monza. Actually, I'll run you through the second half of the season. Actually, so as you mentioned, we've got Spa next up, 26th to 28th of August. First race in September is in the Netherlands at Zandvoort. Then we go to Monza, Singapore, Japan, Kota, Mexico, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi. So how many races is that? 9 races, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it takes us right to the end of November. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done for the drivers and the teams, and yeah, 4 weeks off, as I say, just to have a bit of a rest. It's called the summer break for a reason because traveling around the world. I mean, yeah, people would love to do that, travel all around the world and drive fast cars for a living, but you're not at home for a lot of the time. So these guys definitely do need a break,
Yeah.
if not for physical reasons, then mental reasons certainly. Um, yeah, I reckon Mercedes will get a race win second half of the season. I'm not entirely sure where. Um, Potentially, I've chucked it out there now. I've got to say something now that I've said that. Um, I'm just looking at these races. Kota, perhaps, I reckon.
Hmm.
Circuit of the Americas or Suzuka, I think. Could be a time for a race win.
If you don't mind, could you just list out those races again?
Yeah,
So from Belgium all the way to Abu Dhabi.
yeah.
I'm
So yeah, we've
just
got
trying to think of
Belgium up
something.
next, then Zandvoort, Netherlands, Monza, Singapore, Suzuka, Circuit of the Americas, Mexico, Interlagos, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi.
Okay. Um, if I was, I would say there are two potential tracks that we could possibly see Mercedes getting their first win. Um, First is Suzuka in Japan. I think that track, the track of the figure eight, is very. I think it will suit Mercedes' driving style. With the straight line speed. And they're not too bad in the corners as well. So I think that's probably one opportunity for the Silver Arrows to get their first win. Then the other is Interlagos, Brazil. Now we know Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton in particular has had a lot of success in Brazil. Hamilton got his 101st F1 win in that track, I believe, last year.
Something like that, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't
how many
remember.
how many has he got now? And like
10,
that'll be it. I think yeah, that must have been his last Grand Prix win.
yeah, yeah. And he was made honorary citizen of Brazil. So Hamilton's got a lot going in Brazil. And
Won his first World Championship there as well.
well, what do you
Yeah, he
know?
didn't win the race. He finished fifth, but
Well, what do you know?
anyways.
2008 Brazil, Lewis Hamilton. Remember the name. History was written. Anyway, so yeah, I feel those are two opportunities that Mercedes have of grabbing their first F1 win of the season. As you said, Kota, Circuit of Americas. But it remains to be seen. There are 9 races between the summer break and the end of the season, so who knows? Anything can happen. This is Formula One. Well, moving on now.
That leads us quite nicely into our next bit. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen, which is why we have this. Now, normally, when you want to drive, there are times where drivers feel they need a bit of a change. I can probably compare this to football. Drivers can feel a bit of a change. They want to have a new experience, new challenge. Okay, I might want to drive for this team. I might want to drive for that team. I might want to go to Williams, Mercedes, Alpine, Aston Martin, wherever you want to go. You can either go to Ferrari or Haas, be Gunther Steiner's best friend, for all I care. But if you're Fernando Alonso and you want to drive for another team, that's fine. But the way you go about it, at least have some decency, you know? So, long story short, earlier in the week, while everyone was going about their everyday lives, behind F1's back, for everybody in F1, Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso decided to put pen to paper and agree a deal for next year, 2023.
Oh no, I don't think many of us saw that one coming because it obviously Sebastian Vettel first announced his retirement for the season, which I think was quite a big bombshell announcement in itself. I mean, what an amazing career he's had, first of all, 4-time world champion. I'll just find this list of stats. Most wins in a season of 30, most poles in a season, most laps led in a season, most consecutive 9 consecutive wins in 2013. That is ridiculous. Youngest pole sitter, youngest driver to get pole position and race win. And his first ever race win in 2008 with Toro Rosso, for crying out loud, for Red Bull's junior team, beat everyone on a wet day in 2008 in Italy. He'll go down as one of the all-time greats of Formula One. I think is it the third most world titles ever by F1 driver. Obviously, you got Schumacher and Hamilton on 7, and then Fangio on 5, and Vettel, and there might be someone else on 4. Prost maybe, Senna. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, one of the all-time great drivers. And when I was sort of starting out watching F1 in the sort of late 2000s, sort of 2010s, I wasn't a massive fan of Vettel just because he kept on winning.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
was
like him
I was
winning all
like
the
that as
time.
well. I was like that as well. This guy keeps on winning. It's too
It just
much.
keeps all right. Give us someone different.
Yeah.
But now I think, especially over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, where he's just I think we've seen a more human side to him,
Mm.
of where he's stood up for LGBTQ rights. He's stood up for um, he's cleaning up grandstands
Yeah.
after races. He's doing all this humanitarian, I suppose, stuff.
Hmm.
That you can see. Actually, I was I was wrong to dislike him just because he was winning. Whereas inside, there's someone who just wants to see good and do good in the world, and he'll be sorely missed, not just for his rate. Well, I say sorely missed. He's not died or anything, but he'll be missed from the paddock for sure. Not just because he's a top quality driver, but just those extra that he goes above and beyond for not just F1, but a lot of people around the world. I think will relate to Vettel in some way and just appreciate all the work that he's done and is doing off the track as well. Yeah, I'll end that there because we are running out of time. Um, but yeah, Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin. I don't think many people saw that one coming. I think we possibly think Mick Schumacher's going to go to Aston Martin just because his links with Vettel. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was a day or 2 days after Vettel announced his retirement that Aston Martin announced that Alonso would race for them as well. I thought, hey, that's a bit of an odd move for someone who's essentially
That
gone
out of
back, gone
nowhere.
yeah, for someone who's essentially gone back to the team who he won his world titles with in '05 and '06. After yeah, we're all under a different name and nowhere near the front of the grid anymore. But to jump ship and change affiliations from Renault to essentially Mercedes is yeah quite quite intriguing from Alonso. I don't think he's had the best career moves in his career, I suppose. Um, it's been a bit unfortunate. I suppose jumping ship with Ferrari just as they were getting good again.
Yeah.
Jumping ship with McLaren, although I suppose that was fair enough. But after he left, McLaren had a slight resurgence, and they're having an okay year this year, not as good as Alpine. But I mean, Alpine they're fourth in the constructors, whereas Aston Martin were eighth or something. So I'm not sure what I think of that move. I don't know who I'd want to see in that seat if it wasn't for Vettel. 'Cause I don't think Schumacher wants to, and Ferrari especially don't want to let go of Schumacher or let Schumacher go to a non-Ferrari affiliated team. They want to keep him in the likes of Haas and Alfa Romeo and Ferrari.
Yeah.
Um, and Nick De Vries maybe, Callum Ilott, Porsche, Piastri.
Oscar Piastri.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
did you do you want to get into the whole Piastri saga?
Well, as you said, Vettel's retired, and then Fernando Alonso has put pen to paper for Aston Martin for 2023. Now, Alpine have a reserve driver, Oscar Piastri, former F2 champion for last year. He also won F3 in 2020. So he's Alpine's reserve driver. And Alpine, being Alpine, so decided, well, with Alonso gone, we need someone to drive next to Esteban Ocon. And cue Oscar Piastri. And it didn't go well. Oscar Piastri just straight up, no, without my without my knowledge, without my agreement, I I didn't agree to drive in with Alpine. Therefore, I'm not driving with Alpine in 2023. And I must say, the French team must have looked very embarrassed when they released that tweet.
I feel like it's more than just embarrassment because there's a lot going on here. Because I mean, to not get someone's agreement to just send out a press release saying that yeah, this guy Piastri is going to drive for us next season is very, very, very poor form. Because
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just thinking in my line of work where I do, and release things to the press. So like I just announced that a player had signed for the team, and
Yeah.
without their knowledge or agreement, then that would not go. I'd probably get the sack, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, for Alpine to do that, I mean, there's possibly some legal issues in there as well with contracts and teams and what have you. But yeah, I mean, Piastri's tweet word for word is, I understand that without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I'm driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year.
Mm.
Which is quite a statement
Yeah.
to say. I mean, whether he was on Alpine's car, I mean, he was obviously on their cars, being their reserve driver, but I mean, whether he is already in talks with another team. I've heard rumors that he might be going to McLaren, and Daniel Ricciardo will make way for him. Whether Ricciardo goes to Alpine or another team, or out of the sport team, hate to see that happen. But yeah, the whole thing has just gone down very, very poorly, and created for some great drama late on, whenever it was Tuesday night, I think. uh, but yeah, it's not good from Alpine, and I mean, I'd love to see Piastri on the grid next year, whether it be for, it looks like McLaren at the moment. Yeah, I just hope Ricardo doesn't doesn't lose his seat, or doesn't go out of F1, because I still think he's a brilliant driver. He struggled with McLaren, but I still think he deserves that F1 seat. And if Ricardo does go back to Alpine as he was with Renault, then they've got a hell of a driver on their hands and can potentially. I mean, he got a podium, I think, for once for Renault, Ricardo. So I don't think it'll be the end of the world for Ricardo, but yeah, that move to leave Red Bull in whatever it was, 2018, 2019.
Yes.
Just like, the dominoes, you knock one over and then it just
Yeah.
moves the rest down. It feels like that has started all of this. That's what's going on now. Yeah, just before running out of time, there's been another driver announcement as well.
What's that then? Go on. You finish up us. Finish up us.
Well,
Finish us
I
off.
suppose to put an end to the silly season, I suppose. No, it's silly season, but we're only like 4 days into the summer break. Um, Williams, obviously, off the back of all this drama going on an F1, they announced that they would, well, they put something out saying they've got an announcement at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, yesterday at time recording, and we're all just thinking, oh, what's this going to be? Is it going to be something mundane like a new sponsor that's come on board, or is it going to be a new driver like Nick De Vries replacing Latifi or something? But it was actually fairly normal news in that Alex Albon will remain with Williams for the next few years, which is great. I mean, Albon's done a terrific job for them so far. Yeah, good to see him on the grid for next year.
So we've had a lot in Formula One, and in this episode, so Albon signed a new contract with Williams. Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin had secret meetings, and well, it's F1 silly season, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Sam Oni, and we hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's a goodbye from me, bye bye, and it's a goodbye from Wes,
Bye bye.
and we hope you have a lovely summer break, and we'll be back at the end of August for the Belgium Grand Prix.